we could not allow Andrew Cuomo to just cakewalk into Gracie Mansion. And I think a lot about what has happened leading up to this political moment. Because going here into this moment, when I think about our current leadership, this race is not just symbolic about the future of New York City, but this race is symbolic about the future of our country.
That was New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in Manhattan on Saturday, rallying for mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani. AOC warns people to look at the bigger picture and the fallout if former Governor Andrew Cuomo wins the city's mayoral race. Let's watch that.
Andrew Cuomo has made clear that if he wins this race, he wants to run for President of the United States of America. And in a world and a nation that is crying to end the gerontocracy of our leadership, that wants a new day, that wants to see a new generation ascend.
Independent journalist Ken Klippenstein took to X, weighing in on Mamdani gaining a lead in the mayoral race. Klippenstein writes, in light of Mamdani's performance, it is astonishing there aren't more insurgent primary campaigns. Democratic establishment is discredited. Power's just sitting there like a mountain of gold, but instead of being guarded by a fire-breathing dragon, it's fossils like Chuck Schumer. Meanwhile, Mayor Eric Adams is taking heat online for hosting some controversial influencers. You can see pictures on your screen here of Eric Adams chatting and enjoying cigars with influencers Sneako, Zoner, and Amber Rose. I know who Amber Rose is. I don't know who the others are. There's the picture.
That's from the YouTube stream. Rep. Richie Torres from New York slammed Adams for hosting the meeting. Torres wrote on X, quote, "First, the president dines at Mar-a-Lago with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West, both unrepentant anti-Semites. Now the mayor is smoking cigars at Gracie Mansion with Sneako, yet another anti-Semite who once declared, 'Down with the Jews.'" That's a quote. Who's next on the guest list? David Duke?
Do you know who Sneako is?
Well, I did some research. Now I do. Apparently, he got banned from YouTube, Twitch, and many other outlets because of that quote that I just read that he said, and many other things that he said that are considered anti-Semitic. But he also has millions of followers that still follow him every day. And so, to start, I guess, first with Eric Adams, I mean, he's on basically a tour of trying to be friendly with people who are aligned with the right because President Trump did him a favor to make sure that he is not indicted and in trouble. And so now he talks about reaching across the aisle. He promotes Kash Patel's book often, talks about cryptocurrency, and has these meetings while still on the campaign trail promoting that he is the face of protecting and making sure that New York rids itself of anti-Semitism. So he's being contradictory, but we know with Eric Adams, he's going to do whatever makes him get the most followers and, attention so that he can be in the good graces of everyone, which sometimes is problematic because obviously some people need you to pick a side when it comes to right and wrong. And he obviously just wants everyone to look at him as a place where everybody can go to because he has other intentions of continuing to stay in public policy.
Well, if he's doing outreach to the right, I'm not sure what Sneako accomplishes.
Well, Amber Rose, she supported President Trump at the RNC and has declared herself a Republican, promoting Kash Patel's book. And Sneako is, far right in many of his views, according to what I was reading about him. Again, I don't watch his stream, but that's where he stands on the political spectrum.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Eric Adams is done for. Let's talk about Cuomo and Mamdani. So look, Mamdani is really surging.
He is.
Now, because of the ranked choice voting system that they're going to be using, I don't know what this actually means, and if Cuomo can still somehow eke it out, or maybe the ranked choice voting system makes it harder for Cuomo. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on how this affects New York City. I don't really care for Cuomo, as our viewers know. I hold him responsible for trying to cover up the nursing home deaths to make his own COVID record look more sterling. And of course, there were the numerous sexual misconduct allegations. I will say Zohran Mamdani seems like a nice young man. I don't have anything against him personally. He seems like a nice fellow. I've appreciated that he has, despite describing himself as a democratic socialist, He, in some ways, does not come off as so radical left. For instance, he was asked about defunding the police, and he absolutely moved away from that. He said, he's a leftist, but he doesn't want to defund the police. He wants to fully practice public safety. I think that's good. Now, a lot of his other policies, I think, would be very, very bad, including the publicly owned grocery stores and some of the kind of kookier left-wing ideas that I think are very bad. So I'm not exactly rooting for him, but yeah, and there are other people in the race who are more moderate than he is, who are not Cuomo, who, if I, was forced to vote in the Democratic primary for the mayor of New York City, which I'm not forced to do because I don't live in New York City and I'm not a Democrat, I would probably select one of the people who are neither Mamdani nor Cuomo. If you made me pick between, I would not pick Cuomo. Cuomo is
you don't even
too
want to go on
discredited
record
based
saying
on this. I think I would have to pick Mamdani. So I'm certainly not, I'm not rooting against him at all in the way that I am pretty actively rooting against Cuomo, but we'll see.
AOC made a great point. She said, are we going to continue the same old, or are we going to try something new? And this determines a lot for the Democratic Party. But I think if you even step back and look at a bird's eye view of the entire conversations that America has been having since we talked about, are we going to see a race with two old men again, which would be President Trump and Joe Biden, was that nobody really wanted that until it was on the table. Then people picked what they thought was their best option. What I know is that a lot of young people vocalized all over the board. It's time to infuse some new leadership, some new ideas. Whether you disagree, that's across the ticket. In young Republicans, young Democrats, people that are coming to the table, non-establishment. Even a big part of the MAGA movement is to break bureaucracy, to get out of the norms that we traditionally follow and try something new. And so AOC is echoing that, except on the other side, and saying, this is a time where we can actually try something new. Cuomo is the same old. He's been in this political system over and over again. There's a lot of criticisms about what he did during COVID. Do we want somebody coming back again with bigger ambitions? Because we know when you're in a high-profile position in a big state like New York, it's an easy track to try to look for a federal position that's, president or even closer to the presidency. And he's been obviously vocal about wanting to do that. And so AOC is like, are we going to put him in position to run for president, or are we going to really ask ourselves who the next president and how we're building that person is? And also, more importantly, are we really going to reckon with the fact that the same old did not work for the Democratic Party in the last election? Because we're inching closer to the midterms and just looking like we're doing more of the same if we go with somebody that's already been in office and is coming back to do probably similar things that they've done already.
Yeah, the gerontocracy is a real problem. I find myself agreeing with what AOC was saying in that clip. Yeah, I mean, I am totally against the fact that old people have captured control of our government. Now, I think some of the young people that AOC is supporting, like Mamdani, like AOC herself, do not have ideas that I think make for sound policy, but I mean, neither do the old people, and the old people just want a transfer of wealth to older Americans, which is, dooming in the form of entitlements, which is bankrupting our entire nation. So I do think we need new leadership. This isn't exactly the way I would do it, but I think we need to move on.
And the passion is there. The passion with younger people is there. It's like new ideas. I think
the old people have passion to stay in office forever.
Yeah, I know, and then just go with the status quo. But there's people who think they're going to come in and change everything. And a lot of people, like Elon Musk learned, who jumped into politics, are new jumping into these bigger roles and going to realize that a lot of what they want to do is not just going to happen overnight. It's going to take a long time and years. But if they're lucky, they'll bring new conversations to the forefront, and the American people will be inspired to vote on said issues.
All right, a couple of big names in Democratic politics are officially out at the DNC. May have something to do with recent vice chair re-elections. That's next. Stay tuned.